Hey.
Hello, Glenn. How you doing?
You'll have to speak louder because the wind is pretty heavy here.
I said, how are you doing, Glenn?
I'm sitting outside and watching the wind destroy things. Even leaves are coming off the trees in places.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, the chairs on the raft go flying every time I put them back up. What's happening at your end?
I'm just taking care of some things like.
Hey?
I'm just taking care of paperwork because the DMV.
Yeah.
I had to pay a ticket.
Jenny says it's windy in Ogdensburg. Have you got wind there?
No, it's not. It wasn't windy like that today. Just by you guys.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, yeah, and Bika contacted me on a message email thing.
And?
Yeah. She's said she's living in an apartment with her and Tom.
In Scotland?
Yeah.
Did she get married yet?
I think so. I think they did it. And she said she didn't have internet for a while. So she said she didn't have internet for a while, so she couldn't contact anybody.
Yeah.
So she just wanted to know what was going on, what she missed, I guess. But I don't know. I don't know where to start.
I guess we can take credit for providing the location for them to meet.
Yeah.
Wasn't the intent when it started, but it kind of developed that way right off the bat.
Yeah. That's how things usually.
It was meant to be, I guess.
Yeah, it was. So, I don't know. I guess I think I remember Tom saying to Dana.
I can't hear you.
I think I remember hearing Tom mention to Dana that he won't be coming out to the farm this year. I think he said because
he still can't hear you.
Hello, you hear me now?
Yeah, I hear you when you speak loud, but the wind competes with you.
Oh. That's what I remember Dana saying that Tom said that he won't be able to come this year because he didn't have money. But I don't know how true it is, you know.
Well, he told me that he wouldn't be able to come this year, but I suspect that there is a call out to keep people away, so anybody who's following their instructions must live by their rules.
You think he's living by their? You think he's following their instructions?
Yeah.
Oh, what gave you that idea?
Well, Jenny is being excluded. I'm being secluded. Jenny was told that she shouldn't be coming here during this period in time. So obviously the system had a plan, and the plan was to turn me into a hermit, and
wow.
told all of their followers to stay away. Nothing else explains the fact that, number one, they deprive me of an ability to market the newspaper so that we would have funds to operate. Then they make the whole net impossible to use. Then they steal my pension and try to prevent Jenny from joining me as her husband. So there has to be a plan. And the plan was, I think, basically to try and turn me into a hermit, lose the property, and take over here.
Yeah.
I can see nothing else. Nothing makes sense. You don't keep a director of nursing from the most valuable type of nursing that you claim you need out of the country unless there's a very overriding reason.
Yeah.
The fact that some married woman wants to join her husband is certainly not an excuse.
Well, I'm pretty sure you have a pretty good idea why.
The fact that we know that the politicians are not in charge anymore, and we're prepared to tell the world that the Canadian government is being run by political flunkies and clerks in the offices. Now that's a reason.
But if like Jennifer were to make it up there, how would you?
I can't hear you.
If Jennifer were to make it to the farm, how would you even tell the world? Because it seems like, other than the phone, you don't have any other means of communicating with them that well. Like, because no more email.
There are many ways. Once you've established what the opposition's goal is, and when you observe, analyze, and conclude, you're not allowed to react until it's very clear what the plan is. And, Moses told the world in the allegory of the Bible, let my people go. And when that wasn't happening, there was a plague followed by another plague, followed by another plague, each time the next worse plague than the last. And eventually the Pharaoh gave up and allowed the people to go. That's the allegory. Well, we're living the same thing. The difference is, let my wife come. But they would rather live with the plagues. So we'll see. See how many plagues it takes.
I don't know. I've been kind of looking at that, situation with your wife. I know you guys don't want any help or whatever, but I think there may be another angle to go about doing it, because it's just like they don't have any good reason. Like these guys, like the people that the officers that wrote that, is that within their job description to do that? Won't they have to have a reason?
Not only is it not in their job description, it's supposed to be co-signed by a superintendent, and it was not.
So what you could do, at least what I would do, I would just get that person, that officer fired, and you can do that by liquidating their bonds.
How can you ask Al Capone to fire a bank robber who works for him.
They don't care about their own kind. I see that, but...
Yeah, but they do care about getting what they want done. Mm-hmm. And what they wanted done is create a hermit situation at the farm. So because people use illegal means in order to assist them, they are not going to go out of their way to stop that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. That is what the whole purpose of the Regal Training Center is to pick out the candidates for employment who will follow instructions no matter how illegal or immoral they may be. It's a psychiatric institution.
So you're saying if you read in their manuals for Border Patrol, and it says that because at least from what I understand, when you're working and you're a public officer, when you're working, you have benefit of office, and there's certain things you're allowed to do, and you're insured.
You're allowed to exclude a person at the border.
Yeah, you're allowed to do that, but they're allowed to do that, but what it seems like they're
allowed to override the exclusion.
But it seems
and they're not doing it.
But
Jared,
yeah, no,
they're not doing it because they have a reason for allowing it to happen.
Yeah, I know that. I know the reason. I'm just saying, but what they did was out of their job description, and
Jared, you're double speaking. You're telling me on the one hand you understand why they're doing it, and then you're moving back to saying they're not following their job description.
Okay, let me make myself
That
clear.
doesn't make sense, George. You got to pick one or the other.
Let me make myself clear. I understand why they're doing it, the real reason why they're doing it. It's because they don't want you there.
And therefore, any of the bosses had the right to override.
But I'm talking about as far as what they say. I haven't read what's the rules of being a border patrol, what they are and what they are allowed to do. But from what you said earlier, you said what they did was illegal. So that would tell me that technically they're not allowed to do that.
And technicalities don't matter a darn bit when you're stuck in a room in Augsburg. You know, what you're talking about is a 10-year process and a few $100,000 spent with lawyers in a case leading up to the Supreme Court. And by the time the Supreme Court hears it, it's 5 years. By the time they rule it, it can be another 5 years. Now, you tell me at the age of 80, if the Supreme Court rules, yeah, it was illegal, let her in. What good that does?
No, I'm not saying take it to the Supreme Court, because the process that I'm talking about is not... It's not going to be like a big thing like that. Basically, they just...
Again, I repeat, a few $100,000 later spent on lawyers, 10 years passing, you put down your hand and you say you were right?
No,
hey, I told them the Prime Minister was stealing.
I know, I'm not talking
20 years later, the government said he was stealing. What difference does it make?
I'm not saying spending money on lawyers. You know what it is? I think you're misunderstanding where I'm coming from.
I can't hear you.
I said I think you're misunderstanding what I'm talking about, and I'm not talking about fighting and being and taking people to court, because that's not what I was talking about.
Jenny has a job to do.
Mm-hmm.
The job she has to do has to be done now. If the system doesn't allow it, they have written the allegory that does. Plague after plague after plague. That's what they've written. Solves the problem. I didn't write it. They did. And what's happening now?
Mm-hmm.
What's happening on the Mississippi?
Yeah, I see it.
What's happening in Quebec? What's happening in Manitoba?
Flooding.
What's happening with wind events in Joplin, Missouri?
Well, I see that, Glenn. I see all that.
What you're seeing is the plagues. It's the passion in reverse.
Passion in reverse.
Instead of the crucifixion of the individual scapegoat, what you're seeing is the passion of the government being chased left, right, and center all over the world. Governments in Tunisia, governments in Libya, in Egypt, in Yemen, in Syria, collapse in Pakistan, in New Zealand, in Australia, in Chile. Government after government, top line people such as the director of the International Monetary Fund, the president of Italy being taken to court for chasing little girls.
Whatever happened to that IMF guy, that banker guy?
Well, it probably was all set up. In a hotel room in Manhattan.
Yeah. So he's still in court?
All you have to have is one person running out of a room yelling, rape, rape, rape. Mm-hmm. Nobody listens. Nobody waits for the evidence. What do you think would happen if you were someplace and you thought you were alone in a hotel room and a maid came in and started yelling rape?
Depends what type of person I am, and depends how far they want to take it.
What would happen if, in fact, you come out of the shower and you get a message directly to your brain through your superego that says, chase that woman. Chase her, chase her. And you start chasing her because you're a robot and you're just following instructions. Either possibility is there, Jared. Mm-hmm. You can be made to do things. Think not of how they describe how the brain functions. Think of the three names they have given to the activity of the thought process in the brain. The first one is called the id. ID, the true you.
Mm-hmm.
The second one, from the word rego, is ego.
Yeah.
It's you as you believe the world expects you to act. And then superego is you as they tell you and force you to act.
Superego is, I see how it works, like with my father. Like, I don't even see any superego there anymore. Like, it's because the superego kind of keeps, you have to like if and from their perspective, I guess, if you want to take information from this person's brain, you kind of, the superego buries that.
Is how you want the world to see you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Your father has Alzheimer's.
Mm-hmm.
He's not in charge of any id or ego.
Yeah.
He's running on superego.
Well, that's what I get those two confused.
Direction from within by remote control. That's Alzheimer's.
Mm-hmm.
Shutdown of the system so that you keep secret the things you've been told or have discovered.
And I think they did it through, because I remember years ago when he had some dentist that he went to, some dentist that was somewhere in New York City, and they put these
I'm
metal...
sure they have many, many ways of inducing loss of memory. That's what Wilder Penfield's Institute was all about. Memory. How does it function? How do you control it? What they want, after all, is to get somebody to divulge the biggest secret of all time. How does one get through the fifth dimension into the sixth dimension?
Mm-hmm.
Simply somebody's memory.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can break down the defenses that the memory was set up with, you can get the individual to recount that memory.
So you think the ego is like some type of method of defense against
superego is.
Oh, superego. Okay.
Superego is out-of-the-body control mechanisms over individuals.
Now, is the ego
Think of the tree has memory in its rings.
Mm-hmm.
Well, a tree is static, but there's a company called Research in Motion that studies human beings, trees that walk around and learn things and have programmed into their memory the things they've learned. Now, the system's job is to figure out how that was done. First of all, is it real? Is it dependable? And finally, how can it be retrieved when the person was programmed not to tell? And the only way you can do that is to create an electronic language that matches the language of the neurons, neutrinos, atoms, all of the bits and pieces of the communication network of the body, and convert one language into the other so that you can then turn the secrets that are hidden in the memory back into visuals or audio and play it back. That's what's going on now, is the work on...
Whose work is that? The one
dissecting that information. It's, I guess, the main place that it's going on right now is in Tucson. Look at your website, you'll see they've arrived.
Tucson. That was actually one of the presidents of...
Hey?
That was like a founder of Haiti, or the first president or whatever.
Hang on, I got to switch phones here, see if I can improve this. Try me again.
Yeah, hello?
Yeah, that's better.
Okay.
I'm in the room, in the cave, and it blocks out the sound of the wind.
Yeah, I was going to say Toussaint is, that was one of the guys from Haiti.
Yeah.
The founder of...
All Saints.
Yeah. That's what it means, Toussaint?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, yeah, by the way, before I forget, I was thinking of mailing to your house by registered mail, right? A computer monitor screen. Because I heard you have another computer, but the monitor doesn't work.
Yeah.
So I was thinking if I mail it to your house, I don't know how long it'll take. It shouldn't take too long. But I'll get it by registered mail where you have to sign for it.
Yeah.
To say
it
that
really is not important at this moment, Jared, because I have the ability to access three other computers, and I don't even use them. I leave that up to Jenny, and she does it and then communicates the answers to me by telephone. I don't know if I had a fifth or a sixth computer on, and it would cost you money. Better you save your money for things more important.
So when I eventually make it there, what type of clothes you think I need? Just regular work clothes? Yeah.
It all depends on what time of the year it is. That
summertime.
Not much different than
New York
area.
Yeah.
It gets cold in the winter.
Cold in the winter, hot in the summer.
Yeah.
All right.
The question is always, when will the system decide it's time to allow visitors? When does, in their mind, this seclusion end? Or
I think it's going to end soon, Glenn.
Does it end?
I think it's going to end soon, but I don't want to make any hopes. Yeah. I don't want to put your hopes up.
Creation, I suspect, is upping the ante. Right now, you're getting things happening that have never happened before. In Quebec, for example, they have suffered now 3 high water marks. 3 separate occasions where they said, okay, it's reached the high water, and now it's decreasing. And then 7 inches of rain fall the next morning type of thing. And the high water mark changes again. And they've had that 3 times now, and they're into their 7th week, I think, 7th or 8th week of 3,000 houses underwater. Now, what has happened in Manitoba is you have had the highest levels in the rivers of Manitoba in history. The diversion of the water that saved Winnipeg, for example, doesn't help. It only changes the place where the water is. And in Lake Manitoba, they're having high rises that they've never seen before. And that water is still in a position where it could affect, say, Winnipeg.
You know what I hear, too? I hear, I see that. I notice that it's what's going on in Canada, which is, I think, really important, the flooding up there. It's people don't even know about it in the States.
No.
It's like that doesn't even exist.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, wow, man.
Yeah. Then you have a place in northern Alberta called Slave something or other, Slave Lake, the town of Slave Lake. And 35%.
What do you think they call it that for?
Yeah, 35% burns overnight. Now there's a thing that's happening all along the western border of the plains where the Rocky Mountains are. The Rocky Mountains have been noted for their height, their magnificence, and the fact that snow remains on the peaks year-round. Right now, they're starting to melt. And just when they thought they had the water under control in Alberta, you're now getting large floods of water coming from the Rockies.
Yeah, this melting snow, like and melting icebergs and stuff, that's like to cause the ocean levels to rise, right?
Yeah.
And you know, the military or like the Navy, they know about this, but I think that they're just given like different geological maps of things, and like they're like they know about this, but yeah, I think some of them, I think they may be just misled on purpose. Yeah. And I want to actually
don't forget the gathering of information in the U.S. is now centralized in a single government department run by a lady called Tish.
Shit. Yeah. Well, shit is it has everything in it. Oh.
So she's not going to be sharing if it's part of their plan that the Valkyries take over. It's to her benefit to embarrass the military, embarrass the government.
I want to ask you a question. Like, I understand that they have like submarines, like say in the Virgin Islands. I know like in that area there's like submarines, all like around that area. Like, how would that benefit the system? What do you think they'd use those submarines for?
Well, you got to remember that there's a whole fleet of submarines that used to be part of the Soviet Union arsenal. And submarines are basically used to move ice from cold places to hot places. And the minute you have a confrontation of hot and cold, you have cataclysmic weather, whether it be hurricane or more localized stuff.
Well, it seems like the weather around the world has been changing gradually. Ever since I was a little child, I remember the summers used to be a lot hotter than they are.
Yeah, but what if they could do that 20,000 years ago? Yeah. And they didn't do it then because they hadn't finished their testing. They needed to do tests on war, famine, pestilence, and disease as control mechanisms. And they couldn't do it with a population of a few million people. So they put everything they knew on hold, and they set out to set up a situation where there would be 6 to 7 billion people, all of which could be used as rodents in a laboratory, testing this or that on them. And at a point in time, which I suggest they describe by the word ton, or not, backwards, ton, that word describes when the testing will end and the retrieval of the information begin prior to the annihilation of the guinea pigs that they have used, compilation of the information placed in a data bank, and then wiping off the rest of the people on the earth so that they could wait out the coming of Alder Amin as the next polar star in a period 5,000 years from now, 7,000 AD. So we have basically arrived at their code word for, okay, we've got what we came to get. Now it's time to go back in time, clean out the population of the world. And how do you do it? Washington. Washington. So they've set about to washing.
Ton.
The key word not is basically attached to the word ing. So Canada is known for not doing things that the U.S. does. So the U.S. keeps saying yes, 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 and we keep saying no, 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 no. So this is the not country of the world. So NOT is accounted for.
Yeah.
Then you have the ING Bank located in Holland, and it says it has a role to play. But the letter that's missing in the word nothing, N-O-T, H-I-N-G. N-O-T connected to I-N-G. H. Where's the H in the word nothing? I suggest it's in Japan. Japan has a burlesque-type theater, which they call no theater. And if you see it spelled correctly in English, it's N-O-H.
Yeah, Nihon. Oh.
So N-O-T plus the H in Japan, linked to I-N-G in Holland, and you have the pilot leading the way the word pilot coming from tulip backwards. And it is the outer rim of the two lips. So you start with Holland, then you go into the inner sanctum and you have the labia, otherwise known as Libya. Then you go further in to the Holy of Holies, where the G-spot lives. That is a description of a vagina for creating new birth.
Yeah, but they made temples like that. I know in Hebrew, they made temples that symbolized vagina.
Yeah,
and they have the veil.
At the front of churches, you've got the image.
Yeah.
In any event, that's what's going on. And it's not what Jared thinks or does, or what Glen thinks or does, that is going to affect the system in a manner that they'll say, oh, well, yeah, you're right. We'll put down what we've been planning for 60,000 years and start being nice guys. That ain't going to happen.
No, I know that. I'm not being naive or anything.
What creation is saying to us is, hang on. Go with the flow. I'm handling it. You may not see it all at once, but I'm dealing with it step by step. So there we are.
I don't know. You know,
I'm getting a call from Jenny, so I got to go now.
Okay. All right. Bye. Bye-bye.